What's up, guys? This is Teresa. Let me check my sound here. Okay, that's much better. Good evening, y'all. It is Friday, January 8th, 2021. We've made it through the week. What a crazy, crazy week. I'm so glad you guys are here. My name is Teresa. This is Divine Frequency. For those of you who don't know, if you're new here, welcome. Laura's going to be on in just a second. I'm just going to do a quick intro. I would just love for everybody to jump into the chat tonight and let us know where you're hailing from. This is going to be a really laid back hangout this evening. We need this. As you guys know, for those of you who follow Divine Frequency, sometimes I'll do more jam-packed info-based live streams where I'm kind of throwing a ton of data at you. This is not going to be one of those evenings. We're going to have just a chill night. We're going to hang. And if you have any questions, please jump into the chat and you can put them all in caps. We're happy to answer questions. We've got Claudette here from Las Vegas. What's up? We got Careful Carpenter from California. Very cool. Yeah, it sounds like Trump has permanently been suspended from Twitter. Thanks for dropping that in, Claudette. I think everybody's realizing that over the last, 30 minutes, whenever that news dropped. So he started a Parler account, apparently. If anyone has a Parler account, drop your handle. Mine's Divine Frequency. I haven't really used it all that much yet, but I guess we're going to be hanging out on Parler. So yeah, drop your handle. We can all get connected over there. I love the question from Brent who says, how are we going to navigate the craziness? Well, this is part of what we're doing to navigate the craziness, hanging out and communicating with family. All right, I'm going to go ahead and add Laura to the stream here in just a few, and we can all get connected on Parler. I love how people are dropping their handles. Very cool. Laura, are you ready for me to add you in? Good. Awesome. Thank you so much for being here tonight, Laura. How's it going?
Oh, pretty good. How you doing?
I'm good. And so it's been a wild ride this week, huh?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. It has been. So much to talk about. It's almost like where to begin, right?
Yeah, I'm just so glad that we were able to do this stream whenever we were connecting, a few days ago, and we had this idea. I'm just like, this is going to be perfect because there's really no one else I'd be wanting to talk to right now. We can just hang out. We can go through this, and I just appreciate that. This is what I like about what I'm thinking we're going to be able to do. You and I are very raw and we don't really sugarcoat things. And that's, I think, part of what needs to be done in order to transmute what's going on right now. So something that I've just noticed, and I wanted to kind of open up with this so that we can sort of talk about this. And I want to hear your thoughts on this. What I'm noticing in the last few days is that so many people are starting to be red pilled, and I'm having a lot of people messaging me and reaching out to me asking questions about really what's going on and the corruption in the government. And people are kind of starting that journey right now. And I don't know, have you been experiencing that too?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the people that I talk to are those that have kind of already gone through all that. I don't really get to know, people just sort of in your everyday life and those kind of changes. I don't have kind of that like friends and family kind of thing from, growing up that, oh yeah, I'm seeing some of my old high school friends finally wake up, or this family member or that family member. Even though I'm in touch with my family, I haven't really seen, anything because of lack of exposure.
Gotcha.
As far as social media, as far as, people that are kind of getting it for the first time, that are admitting like, wow, in this last year, everything changed for me. I've been noticing a bit of it, but sometimes I feel like it's just not enough, but I don't want to be pessimistic. I'm a very optimistic person. But it goes beyond moods. It goes beyond, to me, pessimism or optimism. That's part of the roller coaster that we're going through. The real deal is like what's really going on and what can we kind of count on and trust. That's what I look towards. So
yeah, so talk to me. I know there's so much going on and you and I have so much on our mind, so let's just kind of do a brain dump here. What's on your mind right now? Let's just talk about it.
Well, I just put out a tweet that was really saying it like it is. Very, very not like me to word things in the way that I did, but I not into light and love right now when it comes to those that have refused to wake up, that are ignoring the obvious. I mean, it is so obvious, the corruption and the hypocrisy, that it's inexcusable to me. And it's really, really hard to just be like, oh, well, they just need to wake up, or they haven't woken up yet. Too much is at stake. And what they're threatening because of this inability to wake up is too much. And it's really hard to just kind of, blow it off, because we're not talking about differences of opinion that are, superficial. This isn't even about being on a side. So I'll see some comments like, oh, now you finally realize that you've been on the wrong side. And it's like, what side? There is no side.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not on any side. It's about like wholeness. It's about seeing the larger picture. It's about the takedown of the cabal. It's about protecting our freedoms. And that means freedom of speech. It means the freedom to do what one wants to do in pursuit of their dreams, but not harming innocents, not being able to get away with these horrific crimes. And that's where the freedom, because those are crimes. So these criminals are still calling the shots. And too much has been exposed for it to feel excusable anymore for anybody to turn a blind eye. And they see all the censorship. It's like they don't even care. These people are slowly becoming non-human, as far as I'm concerned, that they find this acceptable and they're cheering it on. It makes me sick. Yeah.
Well, and something that I've noticed over the last few days since the event that happened in Washington, D.C., where, the millions of Trump supporters rushed to the Capitol. Like, I talked to someone yesterday live who was there, and he's one of my good friends. And, he's a patriot. He was in the military. He's a great kid. I mean, he's like my little brother, and we work together, and he's just a great guy. And he went out there, and because they're rightfully mad. There are those of us in this country that are rightfully mad. And Laura, you're hitting the nail on the head when you're saying this is not about sides. This is not about politics. This is about liberty. This is about freedom of speech. And I believe that the people that are, people are there for different reasons. And that's kind of what it comes down to. People are believing different things, and they're showing up because they know that something's wrong. They know that they're being censored. They know that there is corruption, and that's why they showed up. Now, there was a small group of people that did break windows and, became violent. And it sucks that everybody's now getting painted in one way and that's what I was trying to showcase in having that interview yesterday, letting Jace speak, where it's like, Jace is a normal guy, guys. Like, let's put down the weapons and let's really just try to penetrate deeper into what's actually going on here and not automatically group people into something. I mean, I've had people over the last few days just so angry. Same thing that you went through, Laura, where it's like, oh, how are you supporting this? And it's like, well, first of all, I'm not. I don't support violence. I don't. I support freedom of speech, and now look what we're watching. We're watching a false flag. And when I say false flag, there's something that happened at the Capitol that now the powers that be that are in charge of this country are shutting down through big tech the voices of conservatives and other people who need to be able to speak. I mean, I was watching, I don't know if you saw this, Laura, but I was watching everything live, and I watched Trump tell people to go home. He was telling everybody to go home. And then I was watching in another screen, the mainstream media. I had dual screens up. The mainstream media was saying Trump isn't telling anyone to go home. And then they censored his tweet where he was actually in a video telling people to go home. And they're deleting accounts that have posted that video. And I posted that video. My account hasn't been deleted yet, but we'll see what happens.
Well, that's the thing. They're deleting like crazy because the amount of evidence, the amount of footage, the amount of information connected to the takedown of the cabal and arrests and things like what Lynn Wood was talking about, the blackmail with, child rape and murder, they don't want any of this known. So looking at the larger picture, I feel positive. But it doesn't mean I'm not going to have my moments. And I took down that tweet because I'm calling people idiots, but it's just like, it's inexcusable at this point. People cheering this type of dark agenda on that have turned a blind eye to things like Biden's laptop, who buy into the propaganda immediately and actually believe that Trump supporters are terrorists when they're the most peace-loving, incredible souls. I mean, the energy of the crowd, I mean, it just always brings tears to my eyes when I see the pictures and the flags and just the footage. It's just like unbelievable and amazing. So yeah, there's the infiltration. There's, Antifa pretending to be, Trump supporters. There's all that kind of thing. But I know that there's a lot of other hidden operations that are really good that are taking place. But yeah, it's anything to make them look bad. And at the same time, it's like, oh, the rioting and the looting and the murders of, the mom, and all the violence in the streets and all the small businesses, getting vandalized, and all the historical sites, being vandalized. It's like the left has nothing, really to speak on it. And then this moment happens. They blow it out of proportion as far as how, they're expressing, what really went down. And exactly, Trump said nothing about violence. He didn't encourage violence. One of the quotes in his speeches was about walking to the Capitol in peace and just exercising our right to have a voice. But he never, ever encouraged violence. And it's just a joke, because you see pictures where, peaceful protests or what they call peaceful protests with fires and the looting. And then you see this incredible crowd, and they're literally trying to steer people into thinking that they're terrorists. And anybody who falls for it, I can't. I need to take a lot of big, deep breaths, because my rage is, and I know better to not go there, but man, oh.
Well, and I'm right there with you. I mean, and some things it's okay to get emotional about. I mean, I don't know. I'm Laura, we're kindred spirits. I get it. I get mad. I get pissed off too. And I got to walk away from stuff. So I'm right there with you. And it's human. It's part of what we're going through. I hate when people say, oh, why are you not loving light? Well, because guess what? I'm a human and I'm pissed. But okay. So last night I did a little bit of research. Because it's funny, I kind of had an idea that Trump's account was going to get deleted today. And so I actually went through his most recent tweets and I just started screenshotting his thread, because I'm going like, this is not going to be up for a long time. And I also went through the woman who was shot and killed in the Capitol. And the day it happened, I mean, I watched all the live footage I could get my hands on. I was crying. I was like sobbing by the end of the day. It was very upsetting to me.
I cried so much too. God.
Yeah, it's just it just makes me so sad, and I'm sad on all fronts. I feel it all. It's not like this is multidimensional, and I'm not even like into one narrative. It's just like it makes me sad. It makes me sad in general, and it makes me sad that people are telling this woman that she got what she deserved. Like, yes, okay, you're not supposed to break and enter the Capitol. I get it, but did she deserve to die? And are we supposed to celebrate her death? It makes me want to puke when people are jumping out there saying, "Oh, well, it's white privilege," and it's because people were saying it's because of white privilege that nobody died. And I'm like, tap tap. Guess what? Someone did die. They were shot in the stomach or the neck, and I watched the video, and they did die. These people didn't even do their research, but they're just so quick to jump on, oh, it's racist.
I'm so tired of this.
It doesn't even make any sense. And I think that what it comes down to, and what I saw on the woman's Twitter page, so I looked at her Twitter page, and she was a very strong Trump supporter. She used to be in the military. She was in the military for 14 years. And I think that like anything can be narratologized, anything can be operationalized and build a lot of momentum in a way that moves people to action. And I think what we're seeing here is people that are very patriotic and they love this country, and they're so heartbroken over the censorship. They're so angry that they feel like there needs to be some kind of insurrection. Now, I'm not saying that, I condone violence. I'm just saying I've done my research and I've looked into the history of the country, and I'm looking at what's going on. And it's like, at some point, people are going to get mad and they're going to do stupid things like violent things. And I'm not, you know what I'm saying? It's a gray area, and we need to be graceful that everybody's going through their process of trying to figure out what needs to be done. And we need to appreciate that,
Oh, totally. Yeah. Well, I heard, there's some sort of collaboration between some of the cops and these Antifa members, and they let them in. They literally ushered them into the Capitol. And then some Trump supporters joined in, and they just ended up going in, just being like, okay, why not? Why not go into the Capitol? Not for reasons of violence, but because these are criminals. And this was a fraudulent election. And if it's not fraudulent, then why not do the audits? Why not take it that step further to dispel all of this once and for all? Instead, it's avoidance. Instead, it didn't even have a time of day in court. Sworn affidavits. If you go against an affidavit, that would put you in jail for a long time. So people aren't going to say lightly, these sort of things. People have no idea this dark agenda and what they have planned for us. It is so dark and twisted. And I'm feeling a little lighter and more forgiveness in my heart for those that aren't awake. But yeah, I was kind of out there for a minute with the just real disappointment, just utter disappointment. And they think it's all about Trump. They're in that old paradigm sort of thinking like, oh, he's either worshipped or he's a cult leader. or this is what he is, and this is how you think about him. And people trying to define people when they don't even know any of the people that they're talking about. They don't know the way the patriots, really think, or even Trump supporters. And it is not just about him. It's about, we're all a team. It's about supporting somebody who's not going to take it and not put us in harm's way. It doesn't matter what his past life was, as far as the type of man he was. It's who is he today? What does he stand for, right? So all this character assassination and it all being about the Trump man has distracted a lot of people away from really, really understanding what's at stake and what people are fighting hard for. People who maybe used to be Democratic, people who maybe used to have never voted, never got into any of this because they know that this is absolutely a different time in history than anything that we've dealt with. But it's always been there. It's now coming to a head, though. Yeah. And how both sides, the right and left, have been owned is coming to the surface because of all the betrayal and all the traitors on the GOP side of it. Now all of it's coming to a head. And what's rising is all of us together that are not a part of that system and that will stop at nothing to take down this criminal cabal. Yeah. And I got to forgive myself and forgive those that don't know better. Yeah. And for getting super upset. But I certainly would never be violent.
Well, and I think part of it is we're
had to defend myself. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No. Yeah. And I said this yesterday. I feel like the patriots, and I'm glad you're using the word patriot because the live stream I did yesterday with Jace, we were talking about the word patriot, someone who loves America. And what it comes down to is we're transcending all of those narratives, agendas, blah, blah, blah. People are stepping away and they're going, no, I'm detaching from that. I'm not. People are wanting to step aside and say, who are we as a country? Who are we as individuals together? In this country, we need to be able to use our voices in order to transmute these things that have happened in the past, because we do need to lament with people. That's the thing. When you talk about racism or you talk about discrimination, you talk about human trafficking, you talk all about these things that we're dealing with that are real, that are horrible, that we're having to face, all the Me Too, just everything. There are legitimate reasons why people are angry, and we have to listen to people so that they can share their stories about what's happened to them. And that's part of the transmutation, is doing what we're doing right now, where we're lamenting what's going on. And we need to hear people. If you cut this is what makes me so mad. If you cut their voices off, you can't lament with them. If you shut them off, you shut them up. How are they supposed to share what happened to them? You're taking away that from them. And now they cannot transmute and get to a place where they can let go. And we need to do this. We need to allow people to do this. And this is why people are mad. And this is why people went to the Capitol. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's gosh, I was saying when this all sort of began, I was saying, similar things like the victim consciousness or any kind of traumas that we've gone through in the past are being hijacked and shuffled into these false movements that are using trigger words to make conversations impossible. And it makes conversations ugly. So again, like you're saying, it's like, you can't really lament. You can't say, well, this is, what I went through and this is why I'm struggling and this is why I support this. Then it's like, okay, because why can't we just be real people with each other? I don't care if you voted for Biden. I don't care if you support it, but it's the ones that are cheering it on and are arrogant about it and are supporting the censorship and are making it impossible to communicate, that I have a problem with. If somebody's hurting, if somebody needs to work through something, I don't care what their belief systems are. I don't care. It's time for, love and mutual respect. And this is an ascension window. And if people understand what that means, it's about advancement of the human vessel, DNA upgrading, expansion of consciousness, and a purification process, a transformation process. And it's like, nobody's really talking about that anymore because it's all being hijacked. And instead of advancing, we're seeing more digression, more of the divide and conquer strategies, and people absolutely in fear of this virus. It's like, this is like the inversion of ascension. And we were supposed to break through that barrier. And we still are. I'm not saying that we're not, but people got to remember that larger picture and that's what's really in control, or that's what really has the upper hand. But it takes humans to be aligned with it for it to be successful. Yeah. And if they're successful in brainwashing and mind controlling and dropping people's energy, that's a concern. And that's what this year has been like. It's just been like a big, heavy drop of energy that could have been moving in a good direction if we had these leaders coming from a place of lovingness, not using people's wounds and weaponizing them to turn us all on each other. That is the opposite of care and compassion. And having dark criminal cabal leaders has got to stop. Having criminals for leaders is insane.
Well, and I think part of it too is like people are now, some people, I'm starting to see a lot of people that are really not into any kind of deep research going, okay, wait, hold on. They're realizing I need to research what's going on. And people are being compelled to research. Why? Because a woman was shot and killed inside of our Capitol. That I think has really triggered people to go, wait a second. I mean, that's what happened to me around the election when the coup started happening. I was just like, okay, I'm not doing my due diligence and speaking up and using my voice into these areas that I'm schooled in, educated in. I know I need to be speaking about freedom of speech because I have a journalism degree. You know, everyone's being operationalized to step up and do something. And I think that people are doing a lot more research right now, and I'm really interested in hearing your thoughts on this, Laura, because I've been really thinking about this today as I'm watching on the base level, people that are really in the mainstream starting to do their research about, okay, wait, hold on, what's this corruption that I'm seeing? My question becomes, what happens when they start realizing the mind control programming and MK Ultra and programs like that are like actually still going on and how deep it goes and all of that? Like that is so much deeper. The rabbit hole goes so much deeper is what I'm saying. Like, are we going through these things right now as a community, as a society, in order to make people go, wait a second, what's going on? And are there going to be additional dark layers to this so that people will actually realize? Is that part of the unveiling? Like, what are we dealing with right here?
Well, sometimes to awaken, it's almost like everything has to be threatened. So you know what's at stake and you know what you might lose. So the unconsciousness of humanity needs to wake up, and it's waking up through the path of adversity, through the path of fear, facing fear and being willing to, look deeper into everything and not just brush it off as conspiracy, because we're not just talking about stories on the internet. We're talking about victims who have spoken up, who have written books, who are telling us what they went through. And every single one of us needs to take that seriously. Children, child trafficking, human trafficking, all these cabal members are a part of this. And that's why, it's like we see them sort of failing us and letting us down because they're owned. There's blackmail on them. They might have been at Epstein's Island and caught on tape with a minor. They might have been at a billionaire party doing something horrible and evil because there's child rape and child murder that takes place, and they have that stuff filmed. So many of these people are under threat and blackmail if they go against the narrative. And it goes also into just China's involvement and what they have planned for this country is unbelievable. So people need to educate themselves about it so that we know what we're dealing with. We're not dealing with a normal human when we're dealing with Pence. We're not dealing with a normal human when we're dealing with Roberts or, some of these people have alters. Some of these people are Manchurian candidates or sleeper agents. They have groomed a lot of alters in individuals under MK Ultra and ritual abuse to play a role in these end times too. So we see leaders being planted in different areas to sabotage as well. So the greater spirit and strength is going to continue to rise in the face of all this. And people are going to have to open their eyes. And if they're not willing to go down those rabbit holes, they at least need to support those of us that are willing to look at this stuff and, and not mistreat. And I know that's a form of fear, is to be hateful and, negative in the face of information that's hard to process. Yeah, and I don't like to see myself stooping low and calling anybody an idiot, but man, it's just been a rough couple days and I haven't gotten a lot of sleep. And
I'm right. Yeah. I'm right there with her. And guys, I'm just going to jump in really quick and give a little bit of a background on what happened because I'm seeing a lot of confusion in the chat right now. I'm going to just tell you guys briefly what happened in the Capitol building. You can go probably find the footage online, but I've watched all of it a bunch of times. So I'm just going to quickly tell you what happened. And Laura kind of hit the nail on the head there when she was saying it really kind of looks like they're being let in. I mean, they break windows, they get in, and so they clearly break in. They break and enter. You do see a progression though, where the Capitol Police seem to be backing up At one point, one of the Capitol police officers picks up a baton off the floor, and somehow there are cameras that are like right around to film. So there is a lot of confusion, people saying that it looks kind of staged. I don't have an opinion either way. I'm just giving you the information. But at one point you do see a window getting broken on the inside of the Capitol. So an inner window, and a woman steps up onto the platform as though she's going to go through the window. And there's a Capitol police officer on the other side, and he has his weapon drawn. So she's coming in knowing, I mean, she can see him weapon drawn, and he shoots her. She falls back. And it really does look like she bleeds out and dies. The news says that she was taken to the hospital and died at the hospital, but I don't know if you watched the footage, Laura, but it looked to me like she died on the film. But just to kind of clear that up so everybody is on the same page, because I think people were confused about who actually shot her. Something I wanted to talk about, and this has been coming up on my stream yesterday. I've noticed people in the chat saying this, and then I've noticed this also on Twitter. People saying, stop talking about politics. I want to see you talk about spiritual topics instead. And my response to this, and then I want to hear yours, Laura, because I'm sure you get this too, is that politics and spirituality are intertwined. This is all connected, and you cannot divorce one from the other. And we need to there are things happening on this planet right now that we can turn a blind eye to and lose that opportunity to figure out how we're going to interface with that and transmute that energy and help other people. You never know. I mean, and honestly, we need to do our due diligence also as American citizens in being informed, period. That's the base level here. But when it gets into, let's go into this spirituality land, yada, 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 there's something that you need to know. We are living here on this physical planet for a reason. We are physical beings on the physical planet for a reason. And we cannot detach and just completely ignore what's going on in the world around us. That's where I'm coming from. And it's all a huge part, because as a collective, we need to be grounding into what's actually happening and figuring out what we can do as individuals and a society to make this a better place. And if we're detached from what's actually going on, how are we supposed to make it a better place when we don't actually know what's going on? What are your thoughts?
Exactly. And it's all about integration. If we're going to change the system, we have to bring the spiritual ideals and principles, higher morality and values into the system. So the politics has been very controlled. And as we're going through a deprogramming, we're deprogramming from politics and what politics has done to us as a species, how it's divided us in this two-party system, but also how maybe, there's nothing wrong with two different approaches as far as what might govern. But when you're dealing with deep state, dark cabal, New World Order agenda, or our freedoms, then it's beyond politics. And we need to understand the way politics is used, though, to implement these agendas. So we peel back the layers where it's not just surface politics. We're looking at the spiritual war that's going on, playing out through these, power structures and systems, medical industry as well, the educational part of our culture, everything, all the indoctrination, all the different controls need to be disseminated and taken apart so that we can see what exists within it. So you got the belly of the beast, the dark part of it that owns both sides and is kind of playing with the puppet strings. And then you got the heart and soul of this earth and the planetary consciousness and our connection through our DNA and our chakra system and everything that we're made of, how we're linked to that and how we're a part of that. And that is the ultimate layer to unfold into, because then we realize the system, is harvesting and siphoning and capturing us in its net. If we can detach from that and really connect with the earth energies and spirit and move into this ascension process, we'll be able to generate the abundance we need. And through synchronicities and the magical flow of the divine, come together in greater ways as a community, utilizing all our different gifts and abilities and putting those together. We need to starve this system that has anything hiding behind it that is nefarious and dark and deceptive. And that to me is the real work, that it goes beyond politics. This is part of the spiritual work, part of doing the shadow work for the planet and ourselves, and to see where we've bought into it and where we're hooked in, because this all starts with, Project Paperclip, Mockingbird after the Second World War, this infiltration that has taken over culture and society and created a whole new just way of, slowly leading people, how they talk about, leading to slaughter, leading people into consenting and agreeing to greater enslavement than we already have. And that's not what this country is made of and what we fought for. So that's, to me, total spiritual work. is to be able to, see all that and get the real history and get to the bottom of things and get to the truth. And that is the path of a light warrior, I feel.
Yeah, absolutely. And to add to that, because I agree with everything you're saying, it's like you're talking about, and like I always say on this channel, things are multidimensional. We need to appreciate that. And so you're talking about transmuting dark. I also want to bring in another layer of transmuting what's worthless or idolatry here, because I think that in our society, we're dealing with a lot of evil, yes, but also things that are worthless. Right. So we need to be also tapping into like what's valuable for us to be spending our time doing. Like, and this goes in line with what you're saying, Laura, when we're looking within and going, what is it that I'm supposed to be doing here on this planet? We can get distracted and pulled off of our mission by things that are not necessarily dark and evil, but things that are worthless and not really worth our time. So I think that there's kind of a congruence there of finding that flow state, finding what it is that you can do what you can do. And I think that what I've noticed, and I'm interested in hearing your thoughts on this, Laura, in the last year, people really have had to transcend a lot of this worthlessness because they're going like, what's actually valuable to me? And a lot of people have brought it back down to, family, their group of friends, like their close unit that they're basically taking their family around them that they're taking care of. It's brought us all back down to that foundational, fundamental level. And now, boom, all of this stuff happens in end of 2020 and into 21, where now we're having to like take that core unit that we've transcended into. And now we're having to go, well, what's next? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of the worthlessness that people have become addicted to is just what's been streaming through the television. I mean, how we were raised, the way the school system is, as far as the social dynamics between children. There's still unchecked bullies. There's cliques, and there's, your parents' wealth shows your status, even though, or if you don't have any money, you're going to be considered the poor kid. It's just, we've been in the personality matrix that creates labels, but there's also, deeper reasons and a part of the wounding connected to racism, and people that are considered minorities do have a history of why they, feel these sort of triggers or whatever about the privileged stuff. But we haven't walked in each other's shoes enough to be able to define that as a culture and come up with labels that project upon a person just based on their appearance, because that's trying to stop something. You can't stop racism with racism. You can't try and solve a problem coming from an angle of, I don't know. It's just not the way to solve things. So the worthlessness to me is a lot of what's come through the televisions, a lot of the sort of soap opera kind of mentality, where it's easier for people to want to see what's happening in the news when it comes down to Bill Clinton, Monica Lewinsky, but people will turn a blind eye to Kathy O'Brien's book about the Clintons. You know what I mean? So it's sort of like people are in a trance, and it really is the TV. The worthlessness, the stupid distractions, that people get, so hooked into. And and the priority really is understanding we're in an awakening process to all that we're made of. We're learning more about the power of the planetary consciousness, the importance of, the things that we might take for granted if we allow ourselves to be distracted. And this is a part of what it's going to take to wake up the sleeping masses. But those who choose, not to, might just have to live that out. But we're being pushed to the edge to create a massive, massive breakthrough. And if we can begin to pull back and away, from that matrix, it won't have anything to feed on and thrive off of, because demonic energy and these kind of lower energies can only really function or stay alive if we're in a lower vibration, if they can keep us in a low vibration. But when we become the override frequency and we step into these energetics that they don't want to see happen, we're doing really well. And that's the frustrating part, because you can't have those healing conversations and really work with people. And you and I who have, and a lot of us who have kind of, we're healers, not like we can heal a person without them wanting to heal themselves, but we're loving people. Right. and it's very frustrating. And to me, that's the ultimate distraction, is keeping us in that 3D mind control, social engineered personality matrix, where we're not moving into the soul, into the heart. A lot of us are already there, and that helps soul family to find each other, soulmates to find each other, and all that kind of stuff. In the personality matrix, there's a lot of broken relationships and a lot of superficial relationships, and it's all based on appearances instead of soul. So if we could take that leap as a humanity and relate to each other in these deeper ways, we could take down the cabal in no time. It's really, they've done a number on the minds of humans, and all those distractions and all that worthlessness and all that wasteful stuff has polluted their being, and they've lost intuition. They can't even hear their own higher guidance, and they want to just give that power away to authority, and that's the globalist agenda. And it's playing on people's good intention as well. The whole climate change stuff and environmentalism, and being somebody who absolutely loves the earth and nature. That was something else to see through. It's just like, wow. Yeah. I can see how people get hooked into that, but it's
right.
Nuts.
Well, and so everybody, here we are, we're all sitting here having this conversation, community-based. And what we just did was travel through a lot of political topics, but we should all stop and realize just how spiritual that was. You see what I'm saying? Like you cannot divorce observing what's going on this planet, and also look, it's that whole as above, so below kind of thing, on earth as it is in heaven. And something that you said that I wanted to speak to, you brought in the idea of demonic energy. And when you look at the word demonic, it stems from of the earth. It means unspiritual. And what I think is really fascinating is that the Capitol was stormed on the feast of or the celebration of the Epiphany, which is celebrating the Magi coming to Jesus's birth. And the whole point of this, or if you take this into a symbolic arena, it's celebrating that the light that was brought into the world was not just for the Jews. The light that was brought into the world was for everyone, every single person. And so when you think about the Epiphany, it's the awakening of, oh my gosh, I'm included. I am included. I am saved too. I am invited into the light. The chains were broken for all. It's not just about this group or that group or the divisiveness that we experience. It's not about any of that at all. It's actually about all of us seeing each other, seeing reflections of each other in each other, and being able to see something from another angle, and not automatically assuming that someone's coming from a bad place, but stopping to think that maybe we're all going through something, and we're all trying to learn, and we're all trying to grow, and we need to be a little bit more soft, and we need to be a little bit more graceful to each other. Because like you were saying, Laura, like when you were saying, when you're in your heart, you're able to find your soul group. You see what I'm saying? Even just that was a very powerful statement to me, because it's like, the more we are in our heart, what does that even mean? Well, it means like putting down the weapons, right? Number one, so that we can actually see each other for who we are. And when I think about the word epiphany, that's what it kind of all encapsulates for me. And I just think that it's kind of beautiful to think about how what's going on this planet is actually all encompassing of that as well, where we're having to be looking at the darkness, and we have to choose every day. And I've had to choose this a lot today. I've had to sit there and go, okay, the light, like there is a way, and there's a way that I can keep my mind calm and focus on what I can do. And that's what I need to be focusing on, and letting the rest of it go, and not getting bogged down by things that I can't control, and really focusing on what is it that I can bring into the world right now that's good, and just trying to get more of that. And I think that that's where I'm at. What about you?
Oh yeah. I like to, if negative feelings, come up, and we all kind of experience it, whether that's like anxiety or depression or frustration, it's like, okay, that's temporary, and that needs to be moved through. But I like to engage it, like, okay, what message do you have? What are you here to, tell me? It'll be like, okay, for example, I'm not saying this is me, but it could be, I feel isolated, or I feel misunderstood, or anything, or there's not enough of this going on. I say, well, then get off your ass and go do it. If you're feeling isolated, form a community, we could do that online. I've already done that with subscribers, and I do Zoom events, and people just come on, and it's Q&A, and everybody's just meeting each other. And it's like, It's like we have to be willing to step into those roles that we wish somebody else would do or we're expecting somebody else to do. If we're starting to feel like it's lacking in our lives and there's none of it around, well, what does it mean to be a leader? You stand up and you got to do it yourself and make it happen. And that to me is the cure of depression, because it's a deep soul longing that's not being answered that brings people's energy down. It takes away inspiration. So when we can, remember that the things that we feel we're lacking are the things that we are here to probably create and do something about and do something with. And then, your creative energy is engaged in building upon something and creating something instead of feeling victimized by everything going on. And this is, to me, is what activates the inner mission, is to look at your anger, look at your depression or anxiety, ask it what it wants, because it has the key to finding your inner calling and your truth. And of course, we have to just accept that oneness is diversity and harmony. We're here to enjoy our differences and learn and grow together and from each other. And this whole system, disguised in new age BS and other like ways and systems that we've seen, is all about think this way, follow me, follow my way. And that's bull. There's ancient scripture, there's places of inspiration and guidance, that already exist. But when a human starts to think that, they're, or have that Messiah complex, that's really dangerous. We need to really find, self-love. To me, that's the key to connecting, to the divine. But when it starts to take over the ego, the false light starts to come in. And that's what's really freaky, because when people have blessings, they take blessings for granted. When they don't have enough, they are victims. And it's like, can we be more responsible for what we're co-creating in this reality?
Yeah. And so you said a couple of really great things. I loved how you were talking about the false light, when people are looking to leaders to kind of show them what's up instead of looking to themselves and figuring it out. And that's something that I would bring into the conversation before, when we were talking about the darkness, and then also idols. That's how I see that, where you're looking at, cult leaders or whatever that looks like, and you're giving your power away, all of that. Like that to me is idolatry. Instead of you're lifting something up that shouldn't be lifted up, and it's worthless. So getting rid of those idols help you center and bring that back to self. And I also loved what you said about appreciating the intermission. And to kind of close the stream out, because I know we've been doing a great job talking for a while, and I know that both of us have had a long week, so we can close out with this. But I wanted to get to appreciating intermission. It is a perfect transition into talking about the law of rhythm. And this is a universal law that I wanted to talk about. And it's about, for me, when I think about the law of rhythm, and I want to hear your thoughts next, I think about the ebb and flow and the natural rhythm that we have in our lives. And it's a tide. And somebody just put, I got to go back, Riley Rage put the ocean, and I had to pin that because I thought that was so cool, because I was just about to go into this part of the conversation. But like, for me, I think what we really need to be appreciating right now and reflecting upon is that there is a natural ebb and flow to things. And so if you're feeling low or you're feeling down, like Laura said, if you're feeling depressed, ask that depression what it's teaching you. It's okay to feel angry. It's okay to feel the things you feel. It's okay to feel very happy, whatever that is. But you need to ask yourself, why do I feel this way? And every step of the way, we're discerning what's good for us and what's bad for us. And there are times where, you can let your depression get out of hand, and it's like, okay, it's time to like figure out a solution and get out of that. But we need to keep people around us that we can talk to. Find someone that you can talk to if you're depressed. Don't isolate yourself, because we're going through a time right now where isolation is very real. It's happening across the board for so many people. So I will just encourage you to, if you're feeling isolated, find someone that you can talk to, reach out, and find a way that you can get to a better place. And just understand that we do go through ebbs and flows. We go through the tides, and we learn and grow through these. And it's a law. It's something we have to do. We have to be up, we have to be down, and it goes and it flows. And we just have to go through that in order to grow. Oh, you're muted.
Yep, totally. Yep. So, I mean, that's part of turning lead into gold. We got to sort of face the dark and hold enough unconditional love for it to allow the light to kind of stream in and kind of dissolve it or ease it or lighten it up or shift its form. Just all those different things. And we have no choice but to do that right now. There's so much on the line. And I don't, know what it's going to look like, but I just keep having visions that we're just all going to band together more. And these leaders that have been censored, like Sidney Powell and Lynn Wood and even, Trump, of course, being the great leader. But we all have lots of leadership roles out there, that we really, really begin to band together, because this system that owns both sides, that have captured the minds of so many humans, those of us that haven't fallen prey to that, we need to strengthen our forces and act as a united front. And there's no doubt, it's just like, this is a major showdown of forces, and this is a hardcore war, and it's an ancient war. So
yeah, it is. And we're living at a really, really, really interesting time. I mean, it's so much to deal with. It's like, this is what, I don't know about you, Laura, but for me, I ebb and flow. This is what we're talking about, law of rhythm. I ebb and flow between taking in as much media as I possibly can so that I can, get on divine frequency and, catch everybody up and all this. I'm consuming not only mainstream media, but all the alternative channels that I possibly can. And I'm just like, it's like a fire hose. And then I just get to the point where I'm like, I'm fatigued. I get media fatigue, and then I have to go on my merry way for a while. But then something like the Capitol happens. I had stepped away from, media land for maybe, I don't know, a week or two, maybe 2 weeks, to go through Christmas and all that with my family. And I come back, and then I'm like, okay, now I've got to get caught up, and the country's basically being overthrown. I'm like, I feel like I can't keep up with everything that's going on, but I'm doing my best. What about you? How are you feeling about all that?
Yeah, well, it's definitely like streaming in my dreams. I had a Donald Trump dream. I didn't even tell Kevin about it, which I usually do, but because it was a little awkward, it was a little bit weird, but not bad. But it was like definitely like, all right, we need to come together somehow. So that was kind of encouraging on an everyday basis. I mean, I'm doing the best I can. It's just like, it's so hard to separate oneself from it. I mean, you understand it. This has been a long mission, many lifetimes, really just trying to help people through this particular window. And it's frustrating when sometimes I sink into those low places of, did the mission fail? And it's like, and I'm already starting to think about contacting like the mothership and getting, myself the heck out of here, or digging a bunker. And it's just like, I can't believe these thoughts are coming into my head. I'm like, is it really? But it's all right. I trust. I do trust in some kind of plan. I don't know if it's the same plan that other people are trusting, but I do know that positive military forces, white hats, are working with benevolent groups of advanced souls that are perhaps extraterrestrial, and that there's operations going down that we'll know more about soon enough. But it's really coming down to the wire, and Trump only has a few days to act in certain ways that will prevent massive takeover and infiltration, because they're going to do it real fast. They're going to do it so fast, people won't know what the heck hit them. And they're talking about executing Trump supporters and detention camps and trainment camps. I mean, it's sickening. And anybody who supports this just because they were taught to hate this man, it's sad that it all comes down to hatred. That you're literally okay selling out the human race or supporting this kind of thing just out of hatred. That makes you so blind. And yes, I said we got to get the criminals out of being in office. And some people might argue, well, he's a criminal because of this, or that. We're not talking about taxes or maybe just weird things in the past or accusations that can't be proven, that haven't been proven. We're talking about human trafficking, child trafficking, pedophilia, and the worst crimes. These are beyond crimes. And these people are playing everyone through the media and social media. And it's just really unfortunate that more people aren't awakened, but I think there's absolutely plenty of those that are. And it's going to turn the tide, because that holds greater power. And it's, as you said, we're multidimensional. So it also connects with the higher dimensional realms. Yeah. And to me, yeah, that always has the upper hand. And that's what these times are about. But it's just sad to see, people so blinded by hatred 100%. And this indoctrination that they just can't see through.
Yeah, 100%. And I totally agree with you. And I think something that I've really noticed in the last 3 years of research and graduate school is that we use a lot of different words to describe the same things. And something that I'm very passionate about is trying to find these middle grounds where we can have conversations. And a lot of that comes down to attempting to define XYZ, blah, 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 blah. But that's okay. We can push that aside, and we're going to have to. We're going to have to start trying to really understand each other's lingo because we have these archetypes that have been there for forever. You know, you're talking about these ancient battles, and this is the spiritual war we're in. And those of us who are fighting this fight actively, that are in the media, that are talking about these things, we need to be doing our due diligence and just grabbing what people are saying and going, yes, I get you. Instead of sitting there and going like, no, you're wrong. You know, you're talking about hatred and all this division. And I agree with you. It frustrates me because I look at groups that are so intelligent, so educated, you know, just really powerhouse individuals that can use their voice so powerfully. And I'm sitting here going, okay, we could take that conversation you're having that's super important, and we could take it into this sub-community if you would just let go of your need to control the language and needing it to be this or that. Let's try to understand what other people are saying and have a soft heart and know that like we're all trying to figure it out. We're all trying to do the best we can. If I use one word and you use the other, it doesn't matter. It's at this point, like when you transcend words, like we're humans, we have our words. There are some things that transcend words, and we need to appreciate that in order to be able to move forward into this next paradigm that you're talking about. It's on our heels, y'all. We're here. Like, we don't really have time to waste to sit around and like argue over stupid things anymore. We really need to take this to the next level where we can go look at each other and go, all right, yeah, you're on my side. Let's find out how you're on my side and go from there, you know?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And this is the big growth period we're in as a humanity. The North Node, which represents the greater soul journey. The transiting North Node's in the sign of Gemini, which has to do with language, speaking, media, all things related to communication. The highest octave of Mercury is like the magician. It can make things happen. Our words are powerful. Our words can heal people and uplift them and activate them and bring joy and make their day. Or you can absolutely damage a person and cripple them. And our words are so powerful. So mastering that part of ourselves as a human species is everything, because the programmings and the mind control are expressed through the words. That's how the mind virus is spread. But the truth frequency, even if the words aren't fully understood, a person can feel the intent. They can feel the energy behind the words, and they don't have to pick it apart and make it like a nightmare, right? So it's like, because there are, going to be trigger words, but maybe they're not so triggering when you can feel the intention and the vibe of that person. And we need to be sensitive enough. And some people, just make sensitivity out to be a sort of weakness. Maybe people who find themselves emotional a lot or crying a lot, but they're also highly tuned in and they feel. And feeling is something we don't want to judge or look down upon or ever get rid of. It'll protect us, our ability to be sensitive, and in that sensitivity, we can also be careful with our words so we can meet each other halfway.
Absolutely. I love that so much. I just have really enjoyed this conversation with you. And I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a lot better after getting a chance to hang out with you for an hour. So thank you.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's been really dark and difficult. And I did a few interviews in the last 2 days, and I was telling Kevin, I'm like, God, I realize I really start to fall apart if I'm not actively talking. And it's extra special to be in your company. You're just awesome. And I've so enjoyed being able to chat, especially after these last couple of days. It's so refreshing to be in your company. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way. I've been so looking forward to this. I'm like, I'm just going to get to Friday, and then Laura and I are just going to be able to verbal vomit on each other and be like, okay, what's going on? Like, let's just do this. So this was so much fun. And I think that everybody had a lot of fun in the chat. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us on a Friday night. Everybody get some sleep tonight. Have a good weekend. Take some time off and just relax. And we just love you on this channel, Laura. Thanks for hanging out on Divine Frequency, and we'll look forward to having you again.
Okay, thank you so much. And I look forward to doing more. And I got some great ideas. And thanks everybody for tuning in.
Oh, also, Laura, will you tell us your website and how people can get a hold of you?
Yes, cosmicgaia.org. And you can sign up for a newsletter, a free newsletter. And that way, if the accounts are shut down, that's a good way to stay in touch with me. And then I got 2 subscriptions, a Patreon, Dark to Light with David Rodriguez, and then my subscriber thing, Cosmic Gaia. And a lot of the, I have people come and co-host, and I'd love to have you join me, of course. And so cosmicgaia.org, everybody.
Awesome. That's so cool. Okay. We will find you over there, and you can find Laura and I, what I call shit posting on Twitter, for now. We have our accounts for now. And then you can find me on thedivinefrequency.com. We have a lot of amazing content coming out. We've got articles coming out, over the next couple of months from authors that work for me that just are so amazing. A couple of them are in the chat right now, but we're doing advice columns. And, I just thought it'd be a great way to start 2021. And Laura, if you want to write an advice column for Divine Frequency, we'd love to have you. My audience just adores you. So we can talk about that another time. But y'all have an awesome night tonight. All around us are pieces of the gigantic cosmic puzzle. Let's attune to its frequency.